My beautiful, lovely Sanji army is still alive. You guys are going crazy in the comments till this day, and I love you guys, man. And you know I had to drop a next video because our lives are potentially about to change forever. Now subscribe to the channel because we will cover all of Sanji's developments till the end of One Piece on this very channel. But we won't be going through the semantics of whether Scopper was equal to Roger and Rayleigh, or if Scopper was even on Rayleigh's level based on the dialogue. We are going to discuss what could happen with Scopper versus Luffy and what that means for Sanji. Just FYI, it's perfectly fine for me to make these correlations with Sanji and make this fight about him, because we're literally looking at the man who represents Sanji in the previous Pirate King crew, and who literally shares his title as the left-hand man. Now the first point I want to make is that I want to quickly recall how all the old legends in One Piece had their strength portrayed in their introduction. First and foremost, Oda has always shared his liking to making old people strong in his story. He mentioned this in the SBS a couple of years ago. He goes as far as to say it's his fantasy to have old people look and feel very strong at their age, and Oda has done a great job of displaying that in One Piece. When Garp displayed his strength at Hachinosu for the first time, he made plenty of the fandom believe he still could be the strongest marine right now, soloing the Blackbeard pirates all by himself and displaying monstrous destructive capabilities, and as well showing us some insane Haki. When Whitebeard had his last stand in Marineford, even as an old sick dying man, Oda still made us feel like he might actually be the world's strongest man even in this condition. Rayleigh, the most important one who has correlations with Scopper, was portrayed as someone who can go back and forth with a Navy admiral. Rayleigh at his current age was able to intimidate Blackbeard, a current Yonko, and make him flee, just by the weight of how strong a character like Rayleigh was known throughout the world. These three men are legends, and as Scopper was described this chapter, he should also be considered a legend amongst them. So with all these old characters having monstrous introductions to their strength, it's only fitting that that pattern befalls Scopper as well, meaning we should expect a good strength introduction to Scopper Gaban. And with what we know, Scopper should at least be near current Rayleigh's level or even on the same level based on his portrayal. So character who should get a good strength introduction like previous old legends did, and logistically should be at a semi-high level in terms of strength. When you tie him in with Rayleigh to some extent, he could very well have a good decent fight against Luffy. Of course, that's not me saying they will fight some extreme death battle like Luffy versus Kaido for example, and Luffy's on the brink of death and he might lose. There's no chance Scopper actually beats Luffy. Maybe maybe that might not be true. Maybe Luffy's gear 5 runs out or something. I don't see in this fight that Scopper gets portrayed to be stronger than a fully fledged out Luffy fighting his hardest. Like, I don't see that happening, but I hope he is though for the agenda, but who knows. But knowing all of this, they should have a decent battle going back and forth where Scopper could still look very impressive, because fighting a Yonko is always gonna uplift you regardless. That's only if you do somewhat good though, not like Lucci's bum ass like that he gets nothing from fighting Luffy. I want to mention Scopper could potentially also be nerfed in this battle against Luffy as well. I say this because it looks like Scopper has no axes with him, unless he's keeping that shit in his ass behind him. Like, I don't see no axes, so I'm assuming he doesn't, but there is the axe on Luffy's back and people are saying hey, he might use that, which could make sense, and yeah, that might happen. Scopper and his axes seem to be his trademark and his bread and butter when it comes to fighting, so if he doesn't have those, I'm assuming he's not fighting at his best. There are giant axes around like he threw in the last chapter, but those are just giant size, and he might actually be that crazy to use those and swing those around, but I don't think he will. So if Scopper has no axes and he does fight off against Luffy and he does do decent, that's just gonna uplift Scopper even more, indirectly uplifting Sanji in the future. So if Scopper has no axes in this fight, what will he be using mainly to fight Luffy? This is where I believe Scopper may be an advanced Conqueror's Haki user, even with its axes. How else can you expect a non-Devil Fruit user to go back and forth with a Yonko like Luffy, which in this case we're assuming he does to some degree. He has the status of a character who could very well have it. If you put it into perspective, guys like Katakuri, who isn't half the legend of Scopper and is nowhere near, like astronomically nowhere near Scopper's strength, and he's still a conqueror. Obviously it doesn't work like that. The stronger you are means you should have conquerors. No, but in most cases that's what it is. And if you're a legend and you don't have a Devil Fruit, you most likely have it. If Scopper is primarily an axe fighter, which seems most likely, it's very possible he possesses that power. You don't get gassed and put in conversations with Rayleigh and be called the left hand of the Pirate King, standing shoulder to shoulder with him if you run around with just Artem and Haki axes. Rayleigh is also a Haki specialist in pretty much all departments. He probably has future sight, and he definitely does have advanced armament. To be comparable to Rayleigh to some degree, he has to make up for that. He can't just not have advanced Haki, and Rayleigh does. To be comparable to Rayleigh, I think you need to at least have advanced Conqueror's Haki. And some people believe he's the man marked by flames, meaning he should have a devil fruit, because if you guys don't know, it is said the man marked by flames is able to create like a whirlpool around you and sink you. So if you're doing that, then you obviously have a devil fruit. But we don't know for sure if he's the man marked by flames. He very well could be, so he could have a devil fruit. So with all that being said, Gaban potentially using advanced Conqueror's Haki, Gaban getting that old man gas like the rest of the legends did, Gaban not having his axes potentially, Gaban potentially having a good fight with Luffy, showcasing he can still keep up with him to some degree at his old age. If this happens, keywords, if this stuff happens, and this just shows us that Prime Gaban is easily Yonko level, and depending on how well he fights, he could be argued over current Luffy in his prime. And that's huge because current Luffy is in conversations with characters like Shanks and Kaido in my opinion. When Sanji surpasses Gaban, this means at minimum he's probably going to be Yonko level, comparable or stronger than current Luffy. Especially if Gaban does showcase Conqueror's Haki, it makes it possible that Sanji could obtain that power even more now than ever. Obviously, I'm not saying it confirms it, but you can't lie, it does make it a bit more likely than it was before. If Sanji has his current skill set with advanced Conqueror's Haki, he could probably be hyped up to be on a whole nother level than Scopper Gaban when it's all said and done. Oda's gonna keep giving him hotter flames and making him even faster. Combine that speed with advanced Conqueror's Haki and those flames, who is really beating you? And you also add the power of love that's getting more and more fleshed out. Like, this is a serious thing that makes you seemingly do the impossible. And Oda's gonna show us that within Scopper as well. That seems to be a serious power system Oda has been emphasizing, and it's going to be portrayed at its fullest with Sanji over time. Scopper will most likely look stronger than Rayleigh. I'm not saying he's stronger than Rayleigh because I don't believe he is, and I don't think anybody should believe that. But in this fight, he might actually look like he's stronger. Obviously, I think Ray can mimic whatever Scopper does to Luffy, but at this point in the series, Scopper is fighting against a stronger opponent than Rayleigh did, and it's probably going to be somewhat of a serious fight. If he looks good, that's all it takes to have better feats than Rayleigh. But it's just furthermore showing that they were probably relative in their primes. Furthermore showing that Sanji should be on the same level as Prime Rayleigh when it's all said and done. Surpassing Gaban doesn't mean you surpass Rayleigh, because Rayleigh is still probably stronger to some extent, might not be a lot, probably isn't a lot, but they're on the same level. So surpassing Gaban is on the same level as Rayleigh, he will probably surpass Rayleigh too. Like, I don't think that's a stretch either. So as you guys can see, there's many angles where Scopper can get hyped that can make correlations to his prime self being compared to and on another level of strong characters we know. And those correlations with Gaban hyping him up obviously refers to Sanji and his future self, because we know Sanji is probably going to shoot past Gaban, or he 100% is going to shoot past Gaban and look like the better left hand of the Pirate King for the better Pirate King. That's it guys, make sure you guys take the time to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.